Room 21 Rockstar families, and welcome to our weekly podcast for hopefully, knock on wood, an uninterrupted week of learning. We have so much to do. I have so many announcements for you, so hang in there and follow along as we go here. First of all, I would like to congratulate our Rockstar of the Week for the week. That is Holly Fulcomer. She has just been on top of every single content area, really intentionally implementing the Barrett Academy Constitution. Could not be more proud of Holly, and so she is the Rockstar of the Week, so congratulations to her. One other announcement I want to tell you, we traditionally have our newsletter on Friday. Well, I'm going to send home that edition on Monday because we haven't had it, an edition of Mr. Records Rockstar Reader in quite some time. So I actually will have one come home on Monday with a bunch of other handouts and things that I had intended to send home on Friday before our snow day. So keep an eye out for that. It has a ton of announcements on it. Tells you what we're doing this week in class. And some other great things as well. Some upcoming dates and days off school and things like that. The next thing I want to just remind a few of you is that if your Rockstar was invited to Tiger Tutoring, that begins on Tuesday, and it goes until 5 p.m., and that runs a whole way through March 20th, every Tuesday and Thursday. Snack will be provided. We start right at after dismissal, and we go until 5 o'clock. So if your Rockstar was invited to Tiger Tutoring, that begins on Tuesday. Hard to believe. Our next Barrett Academy Family Night is actually next Thursday, January 23rd. We were going to have a potluck, like last time, which was really successful. But this time around, the Rockstars will be premiering the 13 Colony Fashion Show. Right now, they may have told you that they've been working on 3 different pieces for the fashion show. A white t-shirt that's a tourist t-shirt that they totally have to transform, a white painter's cap, and then they have a freedom piece. And they're working in a group of 3 centered around one or a couple of the colonies, the 13 original colonies. So we will actually have our fashion show that night, so I hope that you're able to make it. Again, the date for our next Barrett Academy Family Night is January 23rd. I'll be sending home a form this week just so you can RSVP, so we can have an idea of who is able to make it, so we can plan accordingly. So, January 23rd, Barrett Academy Family Night. And one other announcement I just want to send across to you, and I talk about it a little bit on the newsletter that will come home tomorrow. I've actually signed our class up for something called the Literacy Explosion. And the Literacy Explosion is something I took my 3rd grade class to last year. It was held at Mountain View High School. It's in March. It's on March 15th of this year. It's on a Saturday, and it's in the morning. It's actually the Virginia Council of Teachers of Literacy hold this huge event for the entire state. So kids from all across the state will come, and they'll be presenting some type of project based upon a book that they read in class. So they might present a podcast, or they might do a movie trailer, or a book cover, or something else. And they present in front of judges, the judges, and their scores and awards and whatnot at the end as well. But I've signed up our class, and I'm going to send home something this week so I can kind of see who will be able to attend. But that's on March 15th. I'll have more information coming along, and the Rockstars will be working on everything in class for this, but it's just another great way to implement the Barrett Academy Constitution outside of school, which is one of our major focuses for the second half of the school year. And one more shout out before I turn you over to the strategy session. I would just like to thank Jack Tipley and Peyton Rooney for coming to the Math Expo on Saturday and helping to volunteer at the robotics station. We had a really amazing turnout yesterday, and they helped to kind of put some of their skills on display with the robotics, and they did a wonderful job, so I just wanted to have a shout out to them. So, I'm about to turn you over to the strategy session. As always, tell me, are they helping? Are they hurting? Too much? Too little? We have so much to learn, and I'll see you on the other end. Okay, Room 21 Rockstar family, so the first thing that I want to start you off with tonight is some math practice. This week our major focus is going to be on adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, and it's actually going to make us venture into regrouping a little bit. with fractions, which gets a little ugly, but with a lot of hard work and effective effort, we're definitely going to get it. So, as you can see, I have Mr. Eggers' favorite nameless cake. So right now on the screen, I actually have a recipe. This is something that you could pull out at home. It could be out of a magazine, a newspaper, anywhere, really. And as you can see, I have 3 ingredients for this nameless cake and the amounts of each ingredient. So below, I actually put down some questions. Now, these are questions typical of something you might be doing while you're baking. You might not realize that this is actually happening, but it is. So question number 1 states, how much flour will Mr. Riker need altogether? So the first thing that I see here is the fact that it says altogether. And the rock stars have really been working on their math vocabulary. And one of the major things we've been practicing is the fact that altogether, as you can see right there, means to add. So the question is asking me how much flour altogether. So I see flour here and I see flour here. I know that sugar is not flour, so I'm going to have to add these two totals together. So if I line them up like this, 7/8 plus 2/3. I know the number one problem I have right now is the fact that I cannot just simply say 7 plus 2 is 9, 8 plus 3 is 11, because they have unlike denominators. The wholes are divided into a different number of parts, which is a major problem, as you can see right now. So, something we've been practicing in class is simply to take each of the denominators and do something called prime factorize. What we want to do is we want to find the least common multiple of those two numbers. So, if I prime factorize 8, I need to say to myself, what factors go into 8? What two math facts do I know would go into 8? Well, that would be 2 and 4. Now, from my hard work and effective effort in math, I know that the number 2 is prime. So I'm going to circle any number that's prime, but I also know that 4 is not prime, which means it can actually, sorry about that guys, it can actually be broken down one more time into 2 times 2. And just a quick review, remember, prime simply means that the number only has one set of factors, one factor really other than one, other than itself, which is 1 that goes into itself. So 8, the prime factorization is 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 to the third power, 2 cubed. Now, 3 is also a prime number. The only factors that can go into 3 are 1 and 3. And something we've been working on in class is just circling the prime number and not breaking it down saying 1 times 3, because that essentially means the same thing. Now, if you notice, I write down LCM, least common multiple, down here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the order. So, 8 has 3 2's. Those are the least common factors. So I have to write them all down. 2 times 2 times 2, and I'm going to use the dot. I'm going to start practicing using that. And then I see that 2/3, the 3, simply has the 3. So what I have to actually do is multiply these together, and this is going to give me a denominator that is common between them, the least common multiple. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So my least common multiple is 24 of these two numbers. So the next thing that I actually have to do, and I'm going to write over this problem, I hope that's okay with everyone, is simply take 7/8, and now I'm converting it into an equivalent fraction with 24 as my denominator. And I'm going to do the same thing with 2/3, because whenever I have fractions with common denominators, I can then add them together to find my sum. So what I actually have to do here is just simply to say to myself, 8 times what equals 24? Well, I know that 8 times 3 equals 24. So anytime we do something to the bottom, we have to do it to the top. 7 times 3, everyone, is 21. And 2/3, 3 goes into 24 how many times? That's the opposite of this one, 8. So I have to do the same thing up here. I have to multiply by 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Now, all that I simply have to do is take, and I'm going to highlight them in a different color so you can see, add together 21 24ths plus 16 24ths to find my sum total of how much actual flour is going into this recipe, which seems like a lot of it. So what I would do is I can come over here, kind of running out of workspace, and take 21 24ths plus 16 24ths. Add those together, which is going to get me, and remember when we were adding fractions with like denominators, we just keep that same denominator and add the numerators. So that's going to have me 7, that's going to be 37/24. Now, the rock stars know that this is an improper fraction, so we actually have to convert it into a mixed number. So it's actually going to end up being 1, because 24, there's at least 24 in this. So 24/24 would be 1 whole, and I have to say to myself, how many are left over? Well, to 34 would be 10, and then 3 more, so I know there are 13 left over. So 1 and 13/24 is actually how much flour is going into this recipe. Okay, this here is called reducing, and it's something the rock stars have been working on. So as you can see, it's a ton of work to find out really the sum of how much flour is going into that recipe, but the rock stars have this down. Tomorrow we're actually going to start subtracting, so that's good practice. Now, let me erase this real quick and show you what I have, and you'll probably have to pause this here in a second so that you can write these down if you're interested in doing them. Still using this chart above, I have 2 other questions here. How many total cups of ingredients will Mr. Reichert need combined? And 3, Mr. Reichert is going to experiment by only using flour type 1 and sugar in his recipe. What is the total sum of ingredients that he will need now? If the rock stars come in with those 2 problems completed, they will get themselves 3 house points. Now, something else I added down here are some addition problems. This is just straight up computation without any word problems, and some subtraction problems. Now, same thing has to happen. You have to prime factorize in order to find either the sum or the difference. If all of these comes in, it's 1 house point per question. So you may want to pause, and I'll put the questions here on 2 and 3. And here in order to solve those. And now I'm going to actually take you over to the web and our class page to show you a couple of other strategies that you can use at home. So writing, the Great Writing Challenge of the Week is back up. We have a new prompt that says, what is something that you want to learn to do? Explain what you would like to learn and why. And these are just guidelines of things that you could possibly do with your rockstar at home. On Sunday, maybe you could brainstorm using a graphic organizer, some pre-writing there. Monday, you could create a hook sentence, just different things to continue practicing that writing in the home. This week specifically, we're really getting down to the nitty-gritty, and where each student is going to be working on individual skills in either composition, written expression, or usage and mechanics that they have to improve upon. Everybody's really has different areas of strength and different areas of weakness where they need to work on. So that's something we're going to focus on this week. A couple of areas I just want to briefly show you very quickly for writing, or I'm sorry, for social studies are down here under class news. Once again, the 13 colonies study materials, if you go down to the area that says the 13 colonies, a ton of great resources. And one other resource that I forgot to tell you about with math was the adding and subtracting mixed numbers with unlike denominators. It's Khan Academy. He has a ton of videos on all of these skills that we're about to practice. He explains prime factorization if you were a little confused by my example. And these are all things that we're specifically working on this week, so they would be excellent to practice in the home if your rockstar is confused. Now, one last thing, I'm going to actually close out of this and take us back to the original Word page I've been working on from here. We have a ton of social studies content that we're really learning. We're probably looking at our tests next week, not this week, because we still have a little bit to cover. But something that the rock stars can be studying, or a way that they can be studying at home, and even to tie in our reading strategy, would be to create, and let me get my pen here, a simple Venn diagram. Okay, because we have the northern colonies, the mid-Atlantic colonies, and the southern colonies. So right now, this is a 3-way Venn diagram. And as you know, let me just color it in. Everywhere where it overlaps is something that is a commonality, and the outside are differences. So you could actually name this the New England, and I'm just going to abbreviate it. These are actually, could be the Mid-Atlantic. I'm just going to say the Mid-A. And down here, I'm just going to label it S, would be Southern, okay? And this is actually a way to study at home. You could just have your rockstar create this and say, okay, fill this in with as much knowledge as you can think of, kind of like a mind dump based on what they know. Other resources that are really great to practice studying at home, I know I've been giving a few pop quizzes recently in social studies to keep the rockstars on their feet, would include using the questions at the end of each section in our textbook the rock stars can write on those. We have not used those directly in class, so that would be another great study tool. Every rock star has their social studies interactive notebook. That's an amazing tool as well. So these are the strategies for the week. I'm going to turn you back over to Mr. Reichard right now. Okay, Room 21, Rockstar families, I hope those strategies were helpful. Let me know if they're helping, if they're hurting. I love to get all of the different things coming into me that the Rockstars bring me after they complete a lot of these different items in the strategy session. So I'm really glad that some of you are taking advantage of that. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, do not hesitate to contact me. You are the best families in Stafford County, and we will see you next week.